All right, we're recording this a little after 8 o'clock Pacific time. Big Woz is here. Joe House was supposed to be here. I think he sprained his MCL. Woz, he got injured. Somehow, anytime House is on any other podcast, his Zoom works. And then when he's on mine and it's later at night, no Zoom. I'm just going to assume alcohol. That's where I've landed.
A lot of martinis for the big guy. I'm not surprised by that.
Well, he's got a big lottery coming up with the Wizards on Monday. So,
yes.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts. I'm talking to my dad later about Celtics Knicks, but I obviously want to get your thoughts as well. We stayed up to watch Minnesota Golden State. Mm-hmm. I don't know what made me think that this might be a good game. I'll start here. Is Steph actually the non-Jokic MVP when you see what somebody's team looks like when they're not on it? Is there a more dramatic, oh God, than Golden State without Steph?
It's really crazy because their offense isn't elite when Steph is there. It's like he's propping up a bunch of mediocrity. And to see him not be there, Jimmy on half an ass cheek, it's just pedestrian. That's just what it is. Like it's just a pedestrian offense. And Minnesota is one of the best defenses in the league. So I'm not surprised that they kind of grinded the Dubs offense into dust.
Well, they also got the game. They got the game they needed already. Yes. So this was the gravy game.
That's part of it too.
Yeah.
Draymond tried to get himself kicked out. That also happened, which is a tradition like none other.
I texted you and House, and again, RIP House apparently couldn't make the pod. But I texted you guys literally 5 minutes before.
It was 5 minutes. I checked the timestamp.
Yeah, because I was like, I wonder what quarter Draymond might try to get himself kicked out of this game. And then he did the swing the arms thing. And Stan Van Gundy, let me get the exact quote. Hold on. I'm not sure there was any intent there. Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy watching the Dahmer miniseries, episode 8, as Dahmer's eating somebody's genitals. I'm not sure there was any intent there. Who knows with Draymond, but he is in the first team All-NBA, swinging his arms into somebody's head.
Yeah.
He's one of the best in the league at it.
A lot of people exaggerate contact, but nobody routinely connects with the head of the guy that's guarding them as consistently, or the nuts as consistently as Draymond Green.
Well, Draymond got the game he needed to win. I guess the bigger question for him is this technical foul tally that you would figure after 2016 he might be more aware of from a big picture standpoint, because now I think it's 2 more and he gets suspended for the next game. So he's got, I guess, a technical to work with.
I still haven't figured out what distinction they're making on the tech and the flagrant to, like,
yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason. It feels like they're cutting the guy a break as to not get him kicked out of the game for the crazy stuff that he's doing. But their explanation leaves me wanting, like, pretty much every single time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kuminga in this game tonight. Did you ever own property on Kuminga Island? Did you look? Did you go on Redfin and check out some houses? What was your plan there?
Very early on, I would say I was definitely like, look, this guy is athletic. He plays with a motor. He's huge. Like, this is an exciting kind of young guy that, within Steve Kerr's system would be fun if he would develop. But I would say beginning last year, where it's just like, it's obvious. First of all, he went to the press complaining about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was like, all right, whatever, F it. We're going to put this guy in. But it's obvious you're not.
He didn't like that, by the way. I don't think Steve Kerr was a huge fan of the complaining to the press.
You're basically going over my head. He's not some creator, right? Like, he's just not. And he's just refused to make himself into just a great role player, just a, dare I say it, GP2. Like, look at what this guy does. Great cutter, great rebounder, great defender. Just shoots open shots when it's swung to him, like hits the break. Like, he uses his tools to the best of his ability to fit into what Golden State's trying to do. Kuminga basically does none of that and thinks that he's Kobe. And it's just like, I don't know why I should still be excited about him.
You know where here's why you should be excited. If somebody on his team who's really important gets injured and he has to play minutes by default, it becomes exciting. Because he walks out there and he's like, finally, I get to battle with Anthony Edwards, my peer. Nobody but me and
peers.
Anthony wonders or understands what we have as a connection as rivals. And he just goes head to head with them. Did you think, even without this Curry injury, did you think Golden State had a real chance in this series?
Yeah, I mean, you mean pre-injury? Did I think yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just because the Wolves are just collectively not the most highly executing team, right? And the Dubs are the opposite. These guys are veterans with insane playoff know-how collectively, and they have a great coach. And so I was just like, just based off of that alone, I thought the Dubs would give them a great series and definitely had a chance. I'm not going to say I thought they were going to win. I just assumed Minnesota's size would eventually end up being too much. And Anthony Edwards playing more like he did in the second half of Game 1 throughout the series. I just assumed Minnesota would eventually wear these guys down, but now it's hard to see it. And, I know they said they're going to reevaluate in a week. That's not how hamstrings work. This guy's not coming back in a week.
No. Hamstrings, calves, groins, and they always do the at least a week or at least 10 days, and it's not good. It's too bad. But on the other hand, here's the thing. He's 37 years old. They just had this war against the Rockets for 7 games, right? And that game 7 is worth a game and a half of playoff kind of minutes intensity. It's like 150% of a game, right? And then he immediately gets hurt in game 1 of the next series. And that's what happens when you're relying on 40-year-old LeBron and 37-year-old Steph Curry, and you're relying on guys who have played a million playoff games, is the variance becomes a little dicey, right?
But then, I was talking to some Warriors friends, and they brought up something that I thought was kind of pretty, head on. The Dubs came into the season thinking these young guys were somehow going to be competent enough to make this thing work. And
you're talking about like Pods and Kuminga and
and they make this trade for Jimmy Butler. Finally, they get Steph some help. Only they have to treat the last 25 games basically like playoff games. Yeah. So they've been going all out essentially since February. And it's hard for me not to believe that didn't play a role in why why Steph ends up straining his hammy, because he's been going pedal to the metal for months now. Shouts to Joe House, man. Welcome to the BS podcast, brother.
Yeah, Joe House. He's just staring at, oh no, he's in choppy internet. This is great, House. You're only on 9 Ringer podcasts, but somehow when you come on mine, it's like you're in a log cabin in Sturbridge, Massachusetts.
Well, I don't know if you're going to hear this or not, but only one podcast uses, I don't even know if I should name names because
this is my fault. I was asking for it.
Every podcast that I am on uses the same platform, no issue whatsoever, except for one. It's this one.
You mean I
won't name names.
Using Zoom? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you wanted Riverside?
Riverside is seamless and perfect. Nobody has an issue with Riverside.
Can you tell us what year your computer is that you're using? Like, honestly, give us
what
the year.
What year did you purchase that computer, House?
How old is the computer?
It's probably 2016. That would be my
guess. My God, that's insane.
It's Trump presidency year 1, the first one. That's House's computer. 2016.
I do have a modern setup. The problem is that my modern setup is in my house above where my teenager sleeps.
Yeah.
And so it's 50-50 whether I can go up there and hoot and holler the way I like, or do I use this remote setup, which most of the time works, but
all right,
it could be how close we are to the booze. I mean, the booze is right over my left shoulder. That could have something to do with it.
So many articles about the explosion of video pods, and then House calls in on his Commodore 64 to get ready. House, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Waz. After you watch the Warriors game like tonight, is Curry the non-Jokic MVP compared to guys who actually mean the most to their specific teams?
Well, this was the case, kind of all season long. The only way that Golden State was relevant to any kind of conversation was that bad man Curry. And I was very nervous at the beginning of the season, all the way up until the trade deadline, that this was a going away affair, that this was basically, the year before the year for his retirement circuit, because Golden State had no prospects whatsoever until Jimmy Butler fell into their laps. And here we are. He can't play, so they're dead.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. But you know what's alive? Pat Spencer's facial hair or whatever is going on gimmick, Wes. What's going on here, Wes? Can you walk us through? You've seen a lot of looks over the years. I know you've taken some true delight in some different things. But Pat, where does Pat Spencer rank?
First red flag is that terrible number. Why? What? I'm sure it's some tribute, probably to a late family member or something like that. I'm sure there's something heartwarming to it. But bro, get a real jersey number, first of all. And yeah, he's clearly, he's out there in the Bay Area with those folks. I wouldn't be surprised if he's microdosed some shrooms, every now and again. That would not shock me. That's what the facial and the hair is giving for me.
Yeah, we might have to get him on the ringer. Here's my next question. When you watch Minnesota, and Minnesota has looked pretty spotty in these two games, right? They're bad in game one. And even tonight, they kind of picked their spots. And, Edwards sprained his ankle in the second quarter and then returned pretty quickly. But, I wouldn't say they look sharp as hell. It made me wonder how good the Lakers were.
I see it a little bit differently. I think Minnesota is the kind of team that really does play up or down to their competition. They beat Denver like 5 times this season. Right. All of their OKC games for the most part have been fun. And Edwards is just a hyper competitive guy that way. And so I'm not surprised, Steph goes down and they're kind of just dilly-dallying and aren't giving it their best effort. But there were times today where you saw the team that we saw in moments against the Lakers. And so I think they will give anybody a run for their money. I'm talking about from the best teams left in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But they do have moments of just boneheaded basketball. And it's been like this basically for 3-4 years now.
So you don't think Pat Spencer and Quentin Post maybe bringing the A game out of it yet?
I don't even think Draymond's deep-seated and rooted hatred for Rudy Gobert is even going to be enough. They just can't do it without 30.
Yeah. So where do you stand on Minnesota? They hurt our feelings because we had a huge bet before the series. You, me, Sal, and Hench. We had Minnesota game 1, Minnesota for the series. Curry plays 12 minutes and we still somehow lose the game 1 bet. So I know I'm mad at them still. I don't know where you are.
Yeah, I have not forgiven them, and I probably won't forgive them. On the Lakers point, I think that the Lakers were an especially good matchup for Minnesota. And, vice versa. Minnesota was just a bitch of a team for the Lakers. And the way that Minnesota was able to hunt Luka and really expose Luka where he is in terms of his basketball, his playoff basketball readiness. He just wasn't physically there, Luka. And so they were able to exploit that. And what the Lakers had in terms of personnel, it was an incomplete team. And so they just ran those dudes. They were exhausted. Luka and LeBron were exhausted every fourth quarter. And Minnesota was able to exploit that. And, 4-1, that's very impressive. But the way they showed up against Golden State, that's unforgivable. And I'm glad that Chris Finch called out Anthony Edwards. I think that was entirely appropriate. It's time for him to be, the leader that everybody wants him to be. He does set the tone, and he can't let his missed jump shot, his lack of confidence in his jumper impact the rest of his game.
Luka was either exhausted or hungry. I don't know if we've decided
both
which one it was.
Hangry.
Hangry.
Luka hangry.
Hangry would have helped him. Indy Cleveland. That's tomorrow night. I have no idea why it wasn't tonight. I have no idea why I only had one game. They should have moved this up once we realized Curry was out. But as I've said many times in the pod, I loved Indy's chances in this series. I wasn't positive they're going to win, but I really thought it was going to be a 50-50 series. They won game 1. Game 2, nobody plays. Mitchell has a heroic 46 minutes and cannot finish, and Indy steals it, and Halliburton has this great moment, and it's 2-0 Indy heading back to Indianapolis. Waz, do you have more concern for the Cavaliers or the Boston Celtics, the team I happen to root for?
I mean, I would say the Cavs by far. The Boston Celtics aren't missing 2 all-NBA caliber players, right? And another guy who they've seen as their key deadline deal in DeAndre Hunter. So, I think Mobley's going to come back from his injury. He'll probably be a little limited. It's an ankle. People come back from those and, just gut it out. Garland it isn't coming back. Like all indications are that toe injury is horrible. And coming into the series, I kind of felt like they could win the series even without Garland.
Yeah.
I did think they were that much better than Indy, but now you're down 0-2 and you're the guy who at many points of the season has been your best player is severely limited and hampered. They got a whale of, basically of a job to do to win 4 out of 5 games against this Pacers team that is just, they're clicking, man.
Well, who agrees with you? FanDuel, because the Pacers are minus 194 favorites and the Celtics are minus 112 favorites. So I think it is way more bleak. One thing with that I thought was a sneaky piece of the Garland thing, I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this. He handles the ball for them a ton. And Indy's kind of a bitch to play with how they go 94 feet and they just hound you and they really make you work the ball up. So, and that was one of the things with Mitchell. He had to bring the ball up a lot. And then near the fourth quarter, it's like, all right, I'm done with this. And other people were doing it. But I think Indy, it's weird because sometimes you'll watch them, they'll choke games away at the end and you're like, how did they lose that? Then other times they come late, almost like a boxer, where it's like, wow, they're down on the cards, but they're throwing bombs right now. Do you like this Indy team? Where do you stand on Indy?
I really do. And we were on them after the calendar flipped into the new year. We liked where their win total sat, the forecast for how they might end up the season. And they've been as good as just about anybody over the last 50 games of the season. Their record now is 36-11, something very good.
Well, I think weren't they like 35-15, and then what'd they do in the playoffs? 4-1. Now they're 6-1 in the playoffs. So it's something like 41-16 in their last 57, something like that.
Yeah, that's it. And so it's also the case that like they're a different kind of beast in the playoffs, and the chops that they acquired by way of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals can't be overlooked. I mean, when you just get those playoff reps the way that they did and faced, Boston, Halliburton went out, but all those other guys, there's a level of confidence. There's a swagger. They are not intimidated by the moment. They're not afraid of the moment. It's a bitch for Cleveland. I'm so bummed out that they don't have Garland because they've been so good all season long that they deserve like the full complement to go ahead and take a legit run at this season, and they're not going to get it because Garland's absence it isn't just like a scoring issue. It's part of what you said, Bill. It is the fact that he's not there to bring the ball up. It impacts so many different perimeter defense, so many different aspects of what Cleveland wants to do.
Plus, it's Ty Jerome, who's great when he's the Deion Waiters guy in the movie. Yeah. But you don't want him on the poster necessarily. But you love when he comes in for some like crazy scenes, like Tom Sizemore style. But I don't know if I'm building the movie around him. Look, I still think Indy could have beaten them if Cleveland was healthy. I really thought these teams were pretty even. I thought the Halliburton story in The Athletic this week was fascinating about, you don't hear a lot of players talk about when they get into funks, and it just like he did all the stuff like we talk to Ringer colleagues about sometimes. Like, don't fucking read that stuff. Don't go on these boards. Don't go in your Twitter replies. Like, ignore all that stuff. Nothing good happens in those corners. Don't read it. Don't read it. And Halliburton was like, I was reading everything and I was driving myself crazy. But from the moment the Olympics happened all the way through, I read everything. I saw every criticism and it got in my head and I started to lose my joy for stuff. And now I cut it out and now I have my mojo back. But how many times can you remember an athlete like that openly talking about that? I was kind of stunned.
Especially not a current athlete or a current player. I know Kevin Durant is like famously known for being in his mentions, like reading everything that's written about him in the media and what people are saying on social. But most people try to present a face of like, I'm above the fray. And Halliburton coming out and just being like, nah, man, like I'm reading all these horrible things that are being said about me and it's bumming me the hell out. And it's actually was having an impact on my game. That is unique. Most times, like, again, like active players don't like to show, present themselves as having flaws or weaknesses or whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's dope that he talked about it. And I think it's even better that he's sending a message that like, you need to block that out. The internet has, many great things about it. In many ways, we owe our careers to the internet. But god damn, is it negative and just nasty as hell. And so, man, it's just a smart thing for him to do, to just lock in with your people and be a great pacer. And look at these guys. They're up 2-0, against the number one team in the East this season.
Well, I think one of the things with him, you could see it the first part of the season. Like, I didn't vote for All-NBA mostly because of the first 2 months. I just didn't think he was good enough. And that there was a couple games where you'd watch him some nights and he didn't have the big impact of what you would expect from a typical NBA guy. But he was on the bubble for me. But you watch the playoffs, House, if I do my pyramid of guys who are left, be a good social graphic. And Jokic is at the top of the pyramid.
Yes.
The next level down, would you have SGA and Curry?
No.
Who would you have?
Brunson, buddy. Brunson.
Okay,
that's
over
who
Curry.
I would have. Yeah, over Curry. Yes.
Okay. He's never been in the Eastern Finals, so we're doing that. We're taking Curry's four rings. We're tossing him in the ocean.
What pyramid is this? I thought we were doing the 2025 NBA playoff pyramid.
Yeah, the guys right now, the guys who are left. So Curry being hurt, you're knocking him down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Brunson's not hurt. Brunson's going into Boston and ripping the heart out of that city.
All right, settle down, House. All right. So, you agree with that, Waz? You would go SGA Brunson on that second level?
For sure. I think Ant sometimes gets to that level, especially against the Lakers. Like, he was just controlling and dominating play in that series. But yeah, I would say Steph, SGA.
Okay, so third level. Can I put Curry in the third level, or are we dinging him? Because he's
third
hurt.
level. Third
All
level.
right.
Third level's fine.
Can I do Curry, Mitchell, and Ant in the third level?
Where are you going to put Halliburton?
That's what I was about to say.
Okay. Well, and
he's there.
I hesitate to say this name right now, given the week that's happened, but Jason Tatum? Fourth in MVP? Is he out of the top three levels now?
This is the NBA, the 2025 NBA playoffs. Show me his signature game in the 2025 NBA playoffs.
So you put Halliburton with Curry and Mitchell in the third level.
Question, Bill. Of all of those guys, and there's 12 seconds left on the clock, the Celtics are down 1, or whoever is down 1. Would you trust Tatum over any of the guys that you just previously mentioned?
Waz, it's not a great week for the question.
Get him, Waz. Get him.
I talk about it with my dad a lot. The next segment, I got rope-a-doped a little bit. Hopefully, maybe it's not a rope-a-dope. Maybe it was just 2 bad games, but we watched them for 4 months.
Yeah.
And I really believed. And then you saw what happened in the first 2 games. And now I don't know what to believe. What do you believe?
I mean, it's crazy for me because I feel like I was one of the most vocal Tatum's like skeptics in the media. And I thought I kind of had a turnaround on the guy. Like I thought he got kind of a bad rap. Yes, he didn't make shots in the playoffs last year, but he was incredible on defense. He was their best, basically, initiator, setting up other guys because they don't have a real point guard on the team. Like he
best
was
rebounder.
the best rebounder. Like he was the engine of what won that championship last year, especially against Dallas too. Obviously, he couldn't make a shot in the Olympics. But then this year, I'm like, look, man, all the stuff we used to complain about, his tunnel vision, his refusal to get off the ball sometimes, the bad, long, contested twos, his refusal to get to the free throw line when he has smaller guys on him. He was executing all of that stuff perfectly, clearly playing the best ball of his life. And then game 2 was literally the encapsulation of everything negative people have ever had to say about Tatum. He embodied it in that game. And I can't believe that Jason Tatum is actually the player that we saw in game 2. I can't believe that.
We're going to take a break, not because we need to throw to a sponsor, but because I personally need a break from talking about Jason Tatum. We'll be back in a second. FanDuel is getting you into the action for the NBA playoffs like they always do. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend where you can bet the NBA playoffs, use your token, and a 3+ leg same-game parlay plus on any NBA playoff game. You'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. For instance, if you think the Celtics can win game 3, I would go up on Tatum rebounds. And honestly, I would go up on Tatum assists too. Maybe even do that points, rebounds, plus assist bet with the Celtics money line. But that's the kind of stuff you can do. I love betting on FanDuel. Great promotions every day. Safe and secure app. Instant payments. You can do Taylor Fade against me or with me on Wednesdays at 1 this week with SGA over 29.5 points. No better place to bet on all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/BS and get a no-sweat same-game parlay every week in the NBA playoffs. Once again, FanDuel.com/BS. Official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 plus, present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Game prom call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. We all have our routines during the playoffs. I'm the same man who once wore the same t-shirt every single day during the 2003 baseball playoffs. I'm the same person who will tell my wife to come into the room when I need a team to win because she's good luck during the NBA playoffs. These are things that happen. Well, Michelob Ultra, a great addition to any game time routine. It is a superior light beer. It's really great. And they're getting fans closer to the game with exclusive prizes, including courtside seats to see your favorite team play, signed memorabilia, lots more. Enter for your chance to win at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access Courtside 2024 to 2025 sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Ends on July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/superior access/courtside for free entry, entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited. All right, we're trying to figure out the pyramid of guys who are left, and we got a little stuck on Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics, given the week that he's having, and Joe House did not have a chance to chime in. So I'm going to give you the floor, Joe House.
All I want to say out loud is it is possible that whatever happened to his wrist in that Orlando series that had him miss a game, and, you know, to his credit, he did come back earlier than forecasted. It seemed like a wrist injury that was going to have him missing multiple games. For a team that relies on 3-point shooting, if there is, this would be the best story to come out, that the wrist isn't all the way there, that he's not 100% comfortable, and that discomfort is also impacting his judgment. I mean, we really have to extend it.
So his brain would have to be in his wrist.
Well, in the same way that Anthony Edwards, you know, in the first 2 games, you know, his at least the first game, the lack of energy against Golden State. And he wasn't great at the beginning of the Lakers series. That's where I was going to go.
Yeah.
But for Tatum, if that lack of confidence tied to the wrist has him just, settling rather than going inside, this is the thing that Woz just said. There's no reason he can't go be a bully. There's no reason that he can't go down low and take on OG Anunoby and try and get to the free throw line. There's nothing standing in his way in that respect. But I'm trying to be generous and gracious with Tatum, BS.
He's been really good, and I don't have an explanation for what happened the last two games, but talk about it later. Well, at least I give my thoughts later. So if we went pyramid of guys right now, and the list can move, and the list can go up and down, but if we're just saying right now, guys who are playing the best, Jokic, SGA, Brunson, Halliburton, Mitchell.
Sure.
And then Curry with an asterisk because he's hurt. With Tatum. Mobley with an asterisk because he's hurt. Towns? No? Jalen Williams? Brown? Holmgren? Aaron Gordon? Murray? Like it kind of drops off.
I like Aaron Gordon. The best out of all those names you just said, Aaron Gordon's the only one. I'm like, hey, there's a name guy that I think has been pretty good.
I mean, aside from J-Dub, those guys are just asked to sort of be as complimentary as they possibly can. They're not asked to drive any actions. Right. J-Dub at times is like, all right, you're going to have the ball. You're going to create. You're going to be a one-on-one initiating kind of guy. Aaron Gordon's just asked to fill in the blanks around Jokic and Murray and all the things that those guys are doing. I think Murray, I've been pretty disappointed by his overall playoffs so far. It's been so up and down and inconsistent. And when it looks good, it's like, damn, Denver could win the championship this year. And then when it looks like how it's looked in, too many of these games, it's been a bit disappointing.
Yeah, if you're talking biggest winners for the playoffs so far, even though we're barely in the second round. And let's remove the Knicks fan base, the Knicks as a team, the Knicks as they're constructed, and everybody who put it together, Jalen Brunson. Just like this has been unbelievable what's happened with them. Halliburton, I think, is up there. And then Aaron Gordon is the other one. And sometimes we'll see this, and House and I are older than you was, but sometimes this will happen in the playoffs with these guys who have been around long enough. I remember it happened with Iguodala in 2015. These guys that were never quite first or second team All-NBA. Maybe we thought they were going to be slightly better than they ended up being. And then they figured out how to be this like incredibly impactful, Zach Lowe would call them amplifiers of the awesome player. And Gordon now has turned into did you think that shot was going in, House, that three?
When
Westbrook passed him, you thought it was going in, right?
I did. Yes, I did. I did think it was going in.
Yeah, he's turned into this clutch, reliable man. I was so impressed in the games I went to against the Clippers. Like he was just,
so physical, guards the hell out of people. Yeah. The jump shot, it was the first thing I noted watching Denver coming into this season was he was just taking threes with so much more confidence, man. There was no hesitation. Like, no, this is a shot I should be taking because I'm going to make it, which just hasn't been the case throughout his career at all. In fact, that was like one of the major knocks of him in Orlando. It's like, this guy can't shoot. They kind of had him in the Paolo role. They were like trying to, the same things that Paolo's doing, they try to sort of cast Aaron Gordon as the kind of guy that could do that. And he so clearly wasn't. He gets traded to Denver, and it's almost like he was born to play with Nikola Jokic, the way that marriage and that synergy has worked. He's, definitely one of my favorite guys to watch.
All right, so go little mini pyramid. Jokic, SGA and Brunson, Halliburton, Ant and Mitchell, and then Curry, Tatum, Mobley, and Gordon for the right now. Yeah, I'll put him next level. But if you had shown me that a week ago, and you're like, look at this pyramid you made on Thursday's podcast on May whatever, I'd be like, why is Tatum so low? And what happened to Curry? House, what are you seeing in this Knicks Celtics game? It's a 12:30 game on Saturday. Game 4 is Monday. The Celtics have been better on the road for whatever reason all year. Must-win game for them. It's going to be the hottest Knicks ticket, I think, since the 1999 finals. And what do you expect? If I said to you Celtics win in 6 or 7 or the Knicks sweep, which one would you pick?
I still would pick the Celtics, but man, it wouldn't be comfortable. I wouldn't bet $1 on it. And the hard thing with trying to anticipate what's going to happen in this series is you need to tell me how many minutes Porzingis is going to play. And you need to tell me what version of Jaylen Brown I'm going to get, because we just haven't seen that physical version of him be able to play, the full 35 to 40 minutes that the Celtics absolutely positively require to be successful in the playoffs. That, to me, more than anything, has been the missing ingredient in these first two games against the Knicks. It's the guy that can go get that tough bucket when we're in crunch time, when we're inside of 6 minutes, when it's 5 minutes towards the end of the game, and you need somebody to go get a physical bucket. That was Jaylen Brown. That's why he was the MVP of the finals last year. And there's some reason that it's physical, that he's not capable of it thus far in these playoffs.
Yeah, he's somewhere 85 to 90%, I would say, Wes.
Yeah, I mean, he's shooting 30% from three when, the jumper has been incredible all season long. And for him to be shooting 30 in the playoffs, that's Tony Allen territory, if we're being honest there. To me, what I want to see from Tatum and Brown, who we know is dealing with a bum knee right now, is when Josh Hart and Josh Hart's a great defender, he's a gamer, or Jalen Brunson are guarding you guys, you have 5 inches on these dudes, man. In a big situation, in a situation where it feels like New York is chipping into your lead and things are snowballing, like, you should be able to take these guys to the basket and generate a shot at the basket or get fouled.
Or a kick out.
Yeah, force some extreme level of help and get New York in rotation and doing your Boston Celtics thing. Like, the entire offense is designed in order to create these driving lanes for these guys. And the idea that you have all these shooters around you and some dude that's 6'2" starts guarding you, you settle for a fadeaway from 13 feet out. That is just unacceptable to me. And, I just have no reason to believe that won't change. But I think the problem for Boston is, like, yes, to me, they've clearly been the better team. But I think New York has an opportunity to play better. I don't think they've played their best.
Well, that's
they're
the alarming thing of this.
in the series.
Yeah, it's alarming. I think what was it? They had their worst offensive rating of the year in game 2. Out of all the games they've played, it was either worst or second worst.
Rating in the half court. That is putrid.
I don't know, House.
I don't like to see you this way, my friend, but
it wasn't great.
It's tough to defend a title. Let's be real about it. It's tough to defend a title.
The thing you said, House, that the most alarming piece of this to me is you're like, I don't know what to expect from Porzingis. What's he going to be like the rest of the series? And I think the answer is he's going to be the guy you saw in game 2. I don't think he's healthy. I think there's something wrong with him. And I think if it was any other situation, he wouldn't be playing. And that's a guy who's 20 a game for them when he's healthy, with rim protection and insurance for the top 2 guys if either of them are off. And now that's gone. You saw what happened to Horford the more minutes he had to play. And, teams start getting tight. The piece I don't understand is just the settling and the one-on-one stuff and the lack of movement, which I thought they had corrected for the most part over the course of the year. Whereas, like, if something wasn't working, somebody starts moving, one of the guards comes over, they reset whatever they're doing, and now they're just jacking shit up. The assist totals were way down in those 2 games, and it matched what you're watching when you're watching it, where it's like just whoever has the ball is going to shoot.
My guy Mo Doc Hill called it hubris, and I agree with him. It's like OKC came out as if their season was on the line. Like, if we lose this game, our season is over. They treated it like a damn near game 7. I can't say that about Boston. It's not that they didn't play hard.
Yeah, they're up 20.
But, like, you're shooting jump shots in the fourth quarter And you got guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson on the court.
Yeah.
You're not attacking these matchups as if your life, it just feels like they didn't feel like their life depended on it.
Yeah,
which
I agree.
I think is just crazy.
Whereas SGA was the opposite. He comes out and he's like, we're not losing tonight. I've got this, guys. Well, here's the thing. My dad and I didn't really talk about this, so I feel like this is a relatively fresh topic. This is a real fork in the road weekend for Jason Tatum, who won the title last year, but then somehow, still didn't get all the spoils and left the summer with as many questions as answers in a lot of ways, which I think was immensely frustrating to him and the team and his coach. And a lot of what was happening this season was them correcting the narrative that he wasn't one of the best players in the league. And he was awesome the last 4 months. And now we're in this situation where they need him the same way the Nuggets needed Jokic in Game 4, right? The same way the OKC needed SGA last night, the same way the Warriors needed Curry to play a perfect, really smart basketball game in Game 7 and just make all the right plays for 4 quarters. That's what's alarming to me, House, is he wasn't making the right plays. He wasn't dissecting the Knicks in the way that he was doing all season and even in the Orlando series.
See, I agree with all of that. And I hate to take the conversation in this direction, but the fork in the road moment is for the Celtics. It's not just Tatum. I mean, if they lose,
you going third apron on me?
I mean, I didn't put you on that apron. The ownership did it, and it was the right thing to do. Let's go see if we can defend the title. As we sit here today, it doesn't feel great. The idea of defending the title doesn't seem likely, and it looks like the team can't afford to keep both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and so
it's or Holiday or Porzingis. Like it's clear that the short window of this is basically a 2-year run with the group they had last year and this year. And then one of those guys just financially, I don't feel confident. I don't know which one it'll be. Long term, they still have a longer window built around Tatum and Brown that they're in the middle of, and they've been in the middle of all decade. But I think this was their best chance other than last year. With the contracts, with the players on the team and the quality of the players, with the state of the league, right? They're never going to be in a better spot than this, right, House?
That's certainly my view. I had them in ink in the NBA Finals against Oklahoma City.
That should have been my first warning. Jesus, I wish I had known.
You have that. You had the same thing. You had them against Oklahoma City. That's the bet we made when the season started.
It is.
That was our finals matchup.
Somebody's got to dig up the footage of Tatum's last game at Madison Square Garden. It was the last Knicks and Celtics matchup of the season. I get it, it's regular season, but I know for a fact that Knicks desperately wanted to win that game because they had gotten their butts kicked all season long. The crowd in the Garden was losing their minds, desperately wanted to win that. Tatum was sublime, dude. That move that he put on OG Anunoby to get the game-winning shot was incredible. I was like, this guy is at the peak of his powers.
Yeah.
I've never seen Tatum be this incredible. And OG Anunoby has traditionally been a bugaboo for him. He's obviously one of the best isolation defenders in the league. I don't expect you to go out and just make OG Anunoby look like a scrub. I'm not saying that. But, like, he just has to be more methodical. He has to be smarter about, how he attacks this Knicks defense. Because I do think there are other places to attack.
Well, and, you always want to do the stuff that the defense is overreacting to. Like, they attacked Brunson at the beginning of the game with Drew Holiday, and then the Knicks switched on that. I've always noticed when they put Tatum at the foul line in that Nowitzki spot, teams hate that. When they have the right spacing around him. And he's really good at turning around and shooting over somebody, going to the basket, doing a little fall away, or finding like a shooter if people are drifting off. That's become something that's been a really good piece of his game. And actually, Jaylen Brown's pretty good at it too. They weren't really doing that at all in the second half. And even I look at that last play where they do the full court all the way down score. Brunson comes back, jukes Drew and gets fouled. Then the Celtics run the exact same play again, and it's the worst play in the history of the franchise. fucking abomination. Like, I've never seen worse spacing. There's never been worse spacing on a play ever. You'd 5 guys all next to each other. But I would have called timeout and done that lob to Tatum at the top of the key foul line area and just created that space. That's the stuff. I want to see them start playing chess again, House, because it was checkers in those first 2 games.
I totally agree. And that's the place where Porzingis is so crucial, because if you put
Can you
Tatum...
stop fucking mentioning him? Jesus Christ. If Porzingis plays 15 minutes, it's a miracle.
But he can crash. He's the guy that gets the ball, as Tatum starts his move and the defense collapses in. Porzingis is standing right there to knock down that 3, and he's so reliable at that. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
No, I know. It's just, I feel like 15 minutes of him playing decently is what I'm looking at.
And I think the Joe Maz piece has to matter here too. Like, I get it. We do what we do. The math is the math. We're going to shoot 63s no matter what the situation is. Just context doesn't matter. If we get a 3, we're going to shoot it. I get that. But there needs to be some level of adjustment to the realities on the ground. Yeah,
attack Karl Anthony Towns. He's right there. Just go at him. He wants to foul everybody on the court.
Foul. He's dying to
foul somebody.
Let him foul. Let Cat foul.
And guess who else likes fouling people? Mitchell Robinson.
Yes. That was crazy. That's another thing. And I mentioned this on group chat. The whole, we got to get Mitchell Robinson off the floor.
I know.
As if he's Hakeem Olajuwon or Shaq. That is crazy. Like, that was just crazy to me. And Joe Maz in the press conference was like, yeah, guy was plus 22. He was killing us. Yeah, I wanted him off the floor. It's like, bro.
Nobody thought Mitchell Robinson was killing us. Not one person who watched that game was like, oh my God, we can't stop Mitchell Robinson. House, is this the biggest Knicks game that you could remember since you were in 1999? You're out of law school at that point.
Easily. That win is the biggest.
Like the Vince Carter Toronto series? Because they had that Knicks-Pacers series in 2013, but that was it's kind of a dud of a series.
This team is better, and this team is, it's the culmination of all of these moves that the front office, the reinvigorated front office that in turn reinvigorated the fan base and created, this excitement that's been unmatched since when was Linsanity? I don't know. What's the last time?
Definitely that's the last time, like,
Insanity.
True,
that was
crazy Knick excitement. But in terms of, like, after a Knick playoff victory, like, I'm telling you, the last time this felt like this was the LJ 4-point play. Wow. That was the last time, like, coming off of a Knicks victory, was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And for that sent them into the finals. Whereas this is just like, giving them a 2-game advantage over the world champs. But it's, it's hard to underestimate. Bill said it's going to be the craziest ticket at MSG in years. And that's true. Like, they're going to be ready to blow the roof off. Like, not even a 3:30 local time is going to stop it. Like, it doesn't matter. These people are going to be rabid.
I think that Monday game is going to be even crazier.
Yeah.
Monday nighter. So my dad, hasn't even been on the podcast yet, he's really hoping for Scott Foster game 3. We'll see.
The cooler.
We got fingers crossed for the extender.
The
extender. That's right.
He was in OKC last night.
House, does watching what happened with the Knicks give you confidence with your team? About to be rejuvenated Wizards?
He said, who the Capitals?
Well, you got the lottery on Monday night.
Yeah, I went on the Ringer NBA draft show with J. Kyle Mann, and I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my mouth. There was a lot of enthusiasm for the direction of this young Washington team.
Wow.
And if we just get a little bit of luck, honestly, I said this to JKM, if Washington gets any of the first 4 picks, I think there are great players at each of those picks in Washington's developmental mode that they're in right now. And the head coach, Brian Keefe, like, any one of those 4 guys can flourish. Now, of course, I want Cooper. I mean, we did poop for Coop all season long. So, it would be nice to be rewarded for that. But I'm very excited for the direction of the Washington franchise. It's just amazing that both the football team and the basketball team for the first time in what feels like 30 years. I shouldn't say feels like. For the first time in 30 years, has a direction and a plan. It's just unbelievable.
Well, hopefully you'll get one of the Rutgers guys, because I think that team went 12-20 last year. Bring those guys in. winning legacy of that one NIT game they won. I'm very excited for the lottery. Before we go, OKC, Denver, really quick. Did you see anything in those first two games, Waz, that makes you think OKC's not winning this series?
Not really. But I think what people should be looking for is the tightness of the whistle. If the refs allow OKC to be physical, meaning allow them to foul Denver, they're going to be able to guard them quite competently like we saw last night. If any of these crews are just like actually calling fouls, that's when they're going to run into some issues. So that's what I'm really going to be watching for, because they can't none of their big men can physically match up with Jokic. Not Chet, not Jalen Williams, not even Hartenstein. But, if they're allowed to sort of gumming up and hold and, keep their hands on guys coming off of screens, like if they're allowed to play as physical as they typically do, then they got a great shot at defending Denver, and they're well on their way to the conference finals.
How's Jokic all time for you?
Oh,
best player since who?
Oh God. I mean, he's in the conference. He's in the top 10. So, Tim Duncan, I don't, who? Like,
what he's
Kobe?
doing this playoffs. Yeah. Well, you tell me. Would you have it above anything you ever saw from Kobe?
He's in the top 10. He's probably top
Bill's
8.
Trying to start trouble.
I'm not. Did you see that? I ignored it.
No, because I said it on the pod. I left that Clipper game, and that was the best game I've seen anyone play in person since Michael Jordan. Maybe sure. LeBron in the 2012 that crazy game he had in Game 6 in Boston, but that it was like at that level where it was like, holy shit, this is insane that somebody is this good at basketball. So for me, it was in that area, which is, House has known me a long time. I don't throw that around.
For me, Jokic, offensively, I know he has his defensive limitations, and that matters, is as good as prime Steph, prime LeBron in terms of his impact on the court. I love Jamal Murray. The guy is very inconsistent. It's Steph and LeBron level elevating every single thing that's next to them, in those two guys' primes. And so, yeah, Jokic, man, I got too much love and respect for what he does out there.
I was on Termini and Eddie's show yesterday, and this was when they hadn't lost to OKC yet, so they're up 1-0. I said, if he somehow put this together and won 4 straight rounds and went through that Clippers team in round 1, the 68-win OKC team in round 2, gets his revenge against Minnesota, who's been his bully for 2 years, and then takes out pick an East team, and that's the gauntlet. That's like the best runs we've had the last 30 years are probably the Dirk 2011 run, when it was like Durant and Kobe, and then LeBron and Wade in the finals, and there was somebody else good too. And then that Hakeem run, the famous Hakeem run, when he beat every great center in the league, including Robinson, who won the MVP. I don't think it's going to happen because I think OKC is so good. But if it did happen, I think it would immediately go in that short list, right, House? That's like, that would be the territory.
And it puts him it cements him inside the top 8 of all time players.
Yeah, it moves him. Yeah. It elevates him another level. I thought just even getting through that Clippers series was shocking to me. Was any farewell words for James Harden that you didn't use on the group chat pod?
Look, man,
anything left?
James Harden. The only thing I'll say, James Harden's 35 now. He the times that he played well in that series were way beyond anything that I could have reasonably expected. I thought it was going to be a faceplant for the entire time. He had moments where he legit looked really freaking good.
Yeah.
But my God, dude, that's really going on your resume. The amount of times in the closing games of playoff series when your team absolutely needed you for you to just come up, look, just becoming a pumpkin, it's tough. It's tough for James Harden.
House, you didn't get to give your James Harden thoughts on my podcast. I know you have them.
I actually don't really blame James Harden as much. Like he is who he is. We keep seeing this version of him at this stage of his career. I don't think it's really fair to point. It's a combination of, the alchemy that the Clippers tried to pull off with Kawhi Leonard at this stage of his career, like not really physically capable of a 7-game series, not capable of, he showed us his tremendous highs, his capacity for tremendous highs. And the same is true of Harden. And then we got to game 7 and neither one of them had the athletic verve. I don't know what to describe it. They didn't
gasoline.
Have the gasoline. That's exactly right. But,
How about your guy Westbrook?
Love that man so much.
You never gave up.
Never did. Go back and find that clip from October of 2024.
You said it every year. You love Westbrook.
Well, I said, it could be the Joker's greatest accomplishment, the greatest feat of his career, which is resuscitating the career of Russell Westbrook. Lo and behold, Russell Westbrook is extremely important to this Denver team and their future success. It's been a joy to watch in these playoffs. I'm a full Westbrook stan.
Well, I hope we're talking about Jason Tatum favorably in 8 to 9 years. We'll see what happens this weekend.
Can I make a plea on behalf of NBA America?
Yeah.
Can we please? Now, look, I like Wingstop. I'm a fan. I'm here for it. Can we please no more Jalen Green Wingstop commercials?
They got to cut another spot. Yeah.
They have. Go find a different guy.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who he is. And he's out of you don't want to tell your customers. The subliminal message that Wingstop is sending people is that you're going to have a good meal here once out of every 6 occasions. That's what when you put Jalen Green as the face of your brand, you're saying one out of every 6 times. 1 out of every 6 of these tenders is going to be perfect for you.
You're going to be on the bench waiting to get your wings, and they're never going to come. And then every 6 times they will. So do you think they should cut as the moment the guy gets bounced from the playoffs, we never see him in another commercial?
Absolutely.
You hear that, Waz?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. And you know what? Restart your campaign when the playoffs are over. I don't know. Like, I just can't. They just show the same commercial. And I'm over the OKC commercial, too. I know Jacoby did a big rant about
did
that.
A whole thing. I was proud of Jacoby. That was good.
It's very cringe.
The thing with House is the food commercials really hit home for House because he gets hungry every time.
Well, every time
if it's a Wingstop, House immediately gets excited for wings, but then there's Jalen Green, and now he's not excited.
Every time it starts, I feel like it's possible. There's a 2% chance it has a different outcome. Nope, it's Jalen Green sitting in that car on his way to Cancun or Galveston, where Houston really belongs after that putrid performance.
He's going to be on his way to Milwaukee.
He really, that's where that car is headed.
Or
Great
Phoenix.
Point. Good luck.
House, do you feel vindicated that all the Suns fans revile Bradley Beal?
No. And Bradley Beal didn't do anything wrong. All that man did was sign that giant contract that dopey Tommy Shepard put in front of him, that dopey Ted Leonsis signed off on. And he's just trying to live his best Bradley Beal life. He doesn't really want to play basketball. He doesn't. He likes playing basketball, but he likes the money. He likes the life.
Yeah.
He likes
2 more years of the contract when we're doing worst contracts in March. I'm already excited for whatever Brooklyn has in store for us this summer. There might be a very fun Ty Jerome overpay that might be able to make the list.
Wow.
Embiid, I would guess, would be the number 1 guy on the list when we do this. I mean, it's still 10 months away, but worst contracts. One of the most fun days of the year. All right. We're going to take a break and come back with my dad talking Celtics Knicks. Waz, great to see you as always. House, thanks for logging in on your 2016 laptop. It was great to see you as well.
We got to get you a new laptop.
I got a new one. I'm working on it. You know what the real issue is? I do have a new computer. It takes the amount of time it takes to get the new passwords, put your passwords into every single
the porn passwords or the work passwords?
No. So for every like app, every single site that you go to requires double authentication. It's a double-ended dildo trying to sit there and figure out how to get it. So I'm doing it like in 10% chunks because it's going to take me 3 weeks to get this new machine up. Double authentication. Come on, man. That's a damn Jalen Green Wingstop commercial.
Double-edged dildo and 10% chunks. Good one to end it on as we head toward talking about Celtics Knicks for 40 more minutes. Wosny House, thanks again.